The union's attitude is basically keep piling straw on the camel's back, and eventually they'll give you a second camel. No, that's not what's going to happen. They'll just whip the camel until it finally gets on its feet again. All right. That being said, I'm Lance Ash, and I'm sitting on the sofa next to my wife Bonnie.
Hi.
And the name of this program is, as always,
Nothing But Worry.
And Bonnie has her worries. I have my hopes and dreams. So she's going to talk about her depressing shit, and I want to talk about try to be in a good mood.
Well,
all
tell me about your week at work.
Well, first of all, I'm on a 3-day weekend starting today, and so therefore I sent this email to a friend of mine about an hour ago. I'm on a 3-day weekend, and I don't give a shit about anything. So,
yeah, but you came in the first day of the week. Came home.
You tell me, because I don't remember what I...
You came home the first day from work, and you were exhausted. And you were dead. And the second day, you had managed to sleep, but you came in again, dead. Third day, you slept poorly. You were dead. You said, okay, that's it. I'm going to ask for a night off. I can't deal with this shit. I'm too old. I'm too broken. They don't give a damn, and we don't have equipment. I'm going to put in for 8 hours of leave. You went in, got it. You went in last night. They worked you like dogs again. And you're off. And I am so grateful that you're taking off. You need it.
Let me ask you a question. So when I come in, you're so used to me that you can look at me and go, he's more beat than usual, or he's less beat than usual.
Yes, that's true. In the couple of weeks that I drove you into work after your accident, I told you that waiting for you in the mornings, I would watch people leave and enter the building. Everybody who came out was exhausted. Half of them were broken. Of the people going into the building, at least a third of them were broken. A limp, a gimp, something or another wrong with them, you know? The job kills people. It's like slave labor up there, and they don't give you the equipment you need.
And, I tell you, people think if I can just get on with the post office, everything will be fine. A lot of people can't handle it. Some people don't know what to expect. My dad was a supervisor and a postmaster for 30 years. And he said
he was also a carrier.
He was also a carrier. And he said he'd seen people come in to their first day on the job, and they said, well, you're going to do this. And they go, what? I thought I'd be sitting in a chair sorting letters all day. No.
Majority of the time, that sorting's done on the feet, at a machine,
well,
or moving something around.
Doing something heavy consistently and constantly is part of the job. And when you're new, they can make you work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. Right.
Hell, they still make some people work ridiculous hours. Tell them about Rob last night.
Okay. Our current supervisor is this little woman, little lady, and she's nice, she's sweet, but she's a little bit in and over her head. Well, got to work last night, and this guy named Rob was in charge, and I like Rob. Rob is a carrier normally. Sometimes he's a carrier supervisor. Anyway, so I said, oh, good to see you. What are you doing here? Well, he said, I supervised the carriers yesterday, and I had to stay till the last one came in.
What time was that?
I don't,
6, 7 o'clock?
Well, I don't know if it was that late, but, maybe. And they said, can you supervise for tonight on night shift for the next 3 or 4 days? He's like, well, I have to sleep. I have to take a shower. I have to go to the bathroom. I have to eat. He goes, yeah, I'll do it. But so I guess he got, I don't know,
he didn't even
4 or 5 hours maybe,
Aren't you guys, if you're union and on full time, you're supposed to have 8 hours off between shifts.
Yeah.
And that's only during the holidays when things are rough.
Yeah, but I don't know if that applies to supervising. Supervising has totally different rules. But anyway, So the thing about him is he comes in and he pitches in and helps do the work, which I have no problem with. Some people in the union throw, oh, I can get another $5 if I file a grievance on this. I don't give a shit. So anyway, I'm leaving them in lurch tonight, and I really don't care because I've had it. I've been there almost 28 years, and I'm just sick of it. And the old postmaster got a promotion up to a big shot supervisor of some facility. And so this guy come in, he's been there for about 2 weeks, and I don't think much of him. I'll give you a concrete example of why I don't like him too much. The postmaster that just left, first day he met me, first thing he says to me is, what problems have you been having? What issues do you have? Is there any way that I can help fix those problems? Is there anything I can help you do work right this minute?
Yeah, and he literally rolled up his sleeves or took off his jacket and started working.
So, but the first thing the set guy says to me is the volume coming off the trucks being logged? No, it's not. And I dare you to ask me what further I might think about that.
Because you're the only person that's there in the evenings when you get there most nights. There's no dock supervisor to scan anything or to...
Sometimes you've already had 2 or 3 trucks come in with nobody to help them unload. So who's going to scan that mail? And I can't get a scanner working and I unload 2 trucks at the same time and move the shit where it's supposed to go and scan it at the same time with these clunky old-fashioned scanners. So
on top of it, you're having to move stuff off the trucks by hand.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Without any kind of electric working pallet jacks, etc.
So you talk to the union about this, and their attitude is, just take your time. Take as long as it needs. It's like...
It doesn't really work because then they go and call overtime for most of the staff.
Right. So anyway, all right. But aside from all that, I'm in a really good mood. I've had some really, really good painting and drawing done lately. Some really good guitar playing, some really good songwriting done.
And some heavy duty caffeine today.
And we will discuss. There's some more topics we need to discuss, but so let's let Bonnie speak apocalyptically for a moment.
Well, I was going to talk about my dad coming over this
Okay,
week.
all right.
It was really nice. He hadn't seen us since well before the holidays. And he wanted to go down and see his people and then come back.
What, in Butler?
Down south. And he wanted to go down and see them and then come home and quarantine for a bit and make certain he hadn't brought anything back. He knows that the kids have told him that RSV and flu and COVID are at record highs. There's like 29 people that died just from the flu here in the state. And so he wanted to make certain that they were completely well before he saw us again. He came over bearing a few little gifts, which was really nice. I didn't expect that. And then he got to talking. We were talking about his family. And he was talking about his dad, who was big into the Gem and Mineral Society. And all the different things that he did for hobbies. One of the things was he had a newsletter. And he used to type out the newsletter, and he would use the mimeograph to print it up in his basement. And then send out the newsletter. And when computers came along, he quickly got on the computer and he talked to my dad. My dad wrote him out a program so he could get everything done, newsletter format and such. And my dad called it, one part of it was the Acme label maker. So he went off on a tear about Wile E. Coyote. And, Stephanie and he love the Roadrunner and such. And he was so animated when he was talking about it. And he was just giggling. And even Peter, who was here, he was amused watching my dad talk about this. And we also talked about his family and their politics and the mixed bag there. Because the place they live until 2012 had segregated proms. In the desegregated school system. And So his family's this mixed bag of politics. And I was pleased to see there's some that are as liberal as us, disappointed in others. But others in the family are like, live and let live. You don't know what's going to happen. You know? They make their own wine down there. You know? They're pretty open-minded in some ways, but others are not. So it was a really nice visit from him. I had a doctor's visit this week, a follow-up. And then Reed and I went to Sam's Club together, and I nearly blew our food budget there. But I got some really good stuff. And then Peter and I are going to watch a movie tonight.
What you gonna watch?
I'm thinking maybe Bourne Identity, the first one. That's what he's talking about. But I don't know if it's free or available on any of the platforms we have.
I can't ever begin to speculate what I would watch if I was going to watch a movie.
Well, Peter and I have been really enjoying watching movies together. We watched Conan a while back. We watched Predator, which was great. And this past weekend, since he had last week completely off, we had like a 3 or 4 day marathon of watching all of the Lord of the Rings movies. And mind you, we couldn't sit through any one of them all at once.
Yeah.
Most of them were divided into 3 parts.
We were discussing the fact that those movies came out over 20 years ago at this point.
Yeah. And they're still wonderful. The first one is so different, the way that it's filmed, than the second and the third. And there's definitely some differences in the CGI and such. But the music, the humor, everything was great. I got into the habit of calling Gollum the homeless junkie. He was just constantly following in their footsteps, and he's just one of those types of homeless persons, like always with a hand out, surely reaching for precious, and just pathetic, absolutely pathetic, and fixated on the fucking ring, you know?
Yeah, you know, when those books came out in the, I guess, early 60s, I don't think, you know, Tolkien didn't intend it to be an allegory for drug addiction or being a junkie. But in the presentation in the movie, that's certainly
Gollum is obsessed.
evident, you know.
Anyone who has had it is obsessed. They just long to go back to it, and it's all consuming and it's fixating. It just...
Well, so, some of the stuff you're going to bring up. One of the only concrete topic that I wrote down on my daily reminder card is, well, there was one band that was recommended to me just randomly by YouTube, and I've become obsessed with them. But that's not the only piece of music.
What's the band's name?
The name of the band is, cannot think, it's the number 88, which is Hachi something, I can't remember, and then Kazuyo Junrei, which means something like Pilgrimage to the 88 Temples. And
So it's a Japanese band.
they're a Japanese band, basically in the metal camp. Although they throw in some other stuff like funk once in a while and pop and stuff. But it's a trio, power trio. The bass player is the singer. And the first video I saw by them, the guy, he goes by the name Margaret, and he can't weigh but maybe 100 pounds, soaking wet. Wears dresses sometimes, has a little girl haircut sometimes. He is playing the most intricate, fast bass lines and singing at the same time, and it just blew me away. And their lyrics are almost all based on Buddhist teachings, concepts, ideals, terminology. And one of the songs almost drew me crazy because he says the chorus like 40 times in the song. At one point he sings it together 33 times, And it translates to, hey, lovers of this world, let's all suffer in this painful world. Says it over and over and over. And it's just, I was like, if you were being brainwashed by the North Koreans, this would be ideal.
I remember back during Bush's term, it came up that at Gitmo they were playing the Barney I Love You song
Yeah.
to the prisoners. And being a mom with kids who watched PBS at that point, I understood why it would drive anyone nuts.
But see, that's torture. We're the good guys. We're not supposed to do torture.
Oh, we're not the good guys. No, no, no.
No, not anymore.
The administration murdered a woman yesterday.
And
It's on tape. It's on tape.
I know, and there's more than that. We're going to take Greenland unless you sell it to us.
We're going to take
What about the
Venezuela and run it,
what
keep
about-
all the oil.
What about the 33? That's, yeah. They're just being blatant about everything now. Just absolutely flat out blatant. And Trump says things blatantly because he has gotten so used to having just the thunderous approval of the mudflap goober crowd that he thinks that it's going to continue. Eventually he's going to push things too far, and he's not going to get the roaring approval that he's used to.
I was thinking about that this weekend, or this past week with the Venezuela bullshit. And you're right. At some point it's going to break. But right now, the goal is to make certain that all of us are as miserable as possible. We have a government who could take care of its citizens, but it won't. We could provide health care for everyone. We could educate everyone on the national dime. We could have infrastructure projects. We could have the military out of American cities and redirected towards helping in natural disasters, public works projects. I mean, the Army Corps of Engineers does it. Why not the rest of them, If they're not at war, if they're not practicing for war, and really, do you need to practice more than one day a week when you keep doing the same thing over and over and you can put your gun together blindfolded?
Well,
We have a country that is wealthy enough that if we taxed the wealthy, we could have social programs to meet the needs of people. Instead, we've got record numbers of people living in their cars. Record homelessness, people unable to afford to buy a new home, people being evicted in record numbers, car repossessions in record numbers. And that's the point of it. They want to keep us poor. They want to keep us struggling for the next paycheck, for the next dollar, for the next fucking amount of food that keeps going up and up in price to keep us distracted.
well, see,
And at some point, everybody's going to go, we're sick and tired of getting poor and poor while you go and spend money propping up some government in for $40 billion in South America, take over
Well,
another
look.
one, and then finance the oil production and help their people out. What about the people here?
well, see, the thing is, they're gambling that if they can get gasoline prices down to $1 a gallon here in America, that there'll be so many people that are like, yeehaw, $1 a gallon gas, that
Yeah.
they'll be like, whatever they do, whoever they kill, whatever they steal, it's fine with me as
No.
long as gas is. It's not
No.
going to work.
It's not going to work because the rent keeps going up, utilities keep going up, food costs keep going up. $1 off a gallon? No. That's not going to make up for all the shit that everybody else is paying for. We had a 34% increase in our homeowners insurance. And we're lucky we still have homeowners insurance. Places like Florida and California, there are insurance companies pulling out of the market altogether. Other people are being told, we're dropping you. You live in an area that had 2 hurricanes last year, 3 wildfires, etc. Utilities going up by 20, 30, 50% in some areas where these AI data centers have gone in and said, we're going to bring in big business, so you utilities are going to pay for the infrastructure upgrades on
But-
tax, but then we end up paying for it.
But they use up all the local water, and
Yep. Yep. People have got to be completely broken
Wow.
before they stand up to these
Th-
assholes,
this-
and then they're going to be too poor, too hungry.
There's
To do
too
anything.
many people on the planet to
Yeah.
sustain what's going on. And we're at this tipping point where there's so many people that a large enough percentage, I mean, the percentages pretty much stay the same, but a large enough sheer aggregate of people are stupid and don't give a shit that it gives them an inertia of power. Well, we can keep rolling with 600 million people or whatever, So,
Well, the thing is the wealthy are building these bunkers. They're buying into places like the Hawaiian Islands and New Zealand. They're buying these bunkers to survive because they know they're raping and pillaging the last of the planet's resources.
well, see, they can afford
and they're going to take
to-
everything
on
at
the
the
one.
expense of everybody else and the environment.
On the one hand, they can afford to get the best data about what is happening for real, and on the other hand, they can't afford to ignore what these scientists and experts tell them. Yeah, the planet's going to be fucked in the next 20 years.
Yeah, but then they go and they push
But then they push lies
Political lies
on the
about-
populace so they can
Yeah.
keep going. With
yeah, raping and pillaging.
that's exactly right.
I am so sick and fucking tired of the wealthy. I'm so sick of it. Was it $200 billion extra in wealth last year for these bastards here in America alone?
Remember, I've said this before on the show. In the movie Chinatown, when Jack Nicholson finally confronts John Huston, he's like, basically, how much more money do you need? How much better can you live? How much better can you eat? What can you buy with your money that you couldn't buy before? And he goes, the future, Mr. Gates. That's what it's about. We want to buy the future, shape the way things, who gets to survive and come out on top after the, impending collapse.
Well, yeah, you're right. Because the future is being redefined. It has been redefined since that movie Chinatown. I mean, we knew that climate change was a reality when that came out. And there were already growing scientific concerns about it in the 70s. But
Yeah, well, see, the
we're
thing
really
is,
fucked right now.
they have,
We've hit a couple of tipping points already. We've gone past them. We've already gone past peak oil. And what are they doing? They're going and using...
drained the last drops of oil while you
Yep.
can.
Yeah. And shale fracking, and things like that, just in order to go and get the dirtiest bit of oil in the dirtiest method possible to pollute the groundwater to make areas unusable. And what do? We keep using that petroleum for things other than gasoline.
Oh,
We keep
it's
using
in
for plastic
That's right. It's also used to make tires.
and pesticides and other kind of things. It's in so many different things.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
And it used to be that
long
when you
time
had
ago-
tires, you had rubber, And then you have these mixed compounds now and different things. We used to have baskets to hold things. And now everything has to be some sort of plastic crap.
Well, long time ago, I guess it was
And
those
disposable.
1977 encyclopedias I had. There was the article on refining petroleum or whatever. It had like this weird graph, and it showed all the different products that came out of petroleum
Yeah.
during the different levels of refining. It's like kerosene and I can't remember the other ones, but like, mineral spirits or whatever, and gasoline and this and this and this. Different refinements, kind of like how you refine opium into different parameters.
Grades of things.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that we've been doing over the last year and a half is tightening our belt. Windfall happened last year. We're just out from under. And we've completely reassessed the way that we spend money, etc. Since that has happened, I keep getting solicitations for get a bigger house, Get a bigger car. We're happy where we're at.
Yeah, exactly.
How many people can say that? I came across this idea. It's inflation creep or lifestyle creep.
Yeah.
It's the idea that you're surviving, you're getting along, you're making do, and something happens. You get a raise, you get some overtime, you get a promotion, maybe you get a new and better job, and suddenly you have more income coming in. And most people, and we did it too, felt compelled. Hey, it's there. Let's spend this money.
You know, it's funny. From the outside, our house just looks very ordinary.
Very
and
plain.
Yeah. And so many people come in here and they look around and they're like, oh my God, look at the inside of this place. And you look and you think,
Yeah.
oh my God, they must be rolling in money. They're just hiding it. Everything in this house was secondhand or
Used,
thrift store
hand-me-down.
finds or just,
Yep.
you know.
Or we created it ourselves.
Right.
We have pottery in here that I've decorated. We've got paintings in here that both of us have done. You've done lithographs, etchings. We've got all sorts of things that,
But, you know, a
that
lot.
say
Yeah.
wealth. My house looks like, in part, something that could come out of like Home and Garden from the UK. We've got these front antique china hutches with collections of books, statues, pottery, paintings above it. It's just, I mean, this is this room alone, but yet our 3 pieces of furniture in here were all hand-me-downs.
Yeah.
Our rugs all came from the thrift stores. Only 2 of the lamps came from, 3 of the lamps came from stores, and they were like, you know, Walmart and Target stores. The others were hand-me-downs or were thrift stores, like that green Celadon over there. That was $2.
That chest of drawers or dresser, whatever you want to call it, right over there in the corner, painted black.
That's right.
Years ago, that was painted white, and that was my sister's dresser when she was about 6 years old, 4 or 5 years old.
And we keep our emergency supplies in there, along with our cards and our wrapping paper. And on top of it, we have a stereo system,
Yeah.
lamps, and art. I have sculptures that are
If we have time this
from
weekend,
all over the world.
If we have time this weekend, we ought to listen to some music in here. We haven't done that in months.
That sounds really good.
Tomorrow's Friday. Is Peter off tomorrow?
Peter is off tomorrow. Megan's going to come
we
over.
might
And
be
he
able to
has
make
an
some-
annual exam.
We might be able to make some racket later.
Well, Peter and I are going to watch a movie tonight.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then tomorrow, while he's gone, we can play music as loudly as we want.
Mm-hmm. I listened to this side 2 of Oregon's Out of the Woods album, which is probably their most famous
Where did you
record.
listen to it?
Listen to it in my new Subaru with the much better sound system than the
Harman.
old one. Harman Kardon speakers.
Yeah.
And I had it up pretty loud, and I was just stunned at how good it sounds. And what a great record. That was a story in itself. I can't remember. I think what happened was there's a Goodwill in the town of Winder, which is 40,
an hour.
40, well, it's more like 40 minutes,
Yeah,
45
minutes
from here.
yeah.
And we had been up there like earlier in the day or the day before. This has been a couple of years ago. And I had seen this. I think this is the way the story goes. There was a Dan Fogelberg Greatest Hits CD, and I didn't get it. And on the way home, I was like, well, my dad would have liked that. So either the next day or later that day, I drove back up there to get it. And when I was there, I came across these maybe a dozen LPs by the band Oregon. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And so I got them and just loved them. They were one of the first big bands to combine world music with jazz, or at least the feeling of jazz.
What type of instruments do the members play? It's a variety. of
The
things.
guitar player also played piano. They had a guy who played not sax, but basically I think there's an instrument called the lyricon, sort of a sax sounding thing, or flute, and a bass player and a guy who played tabla and sitar. And
What did they do for percussion?
the tabla guy did.
That was it?
Yeah, that
Okay.
was it. Yeah.
Wow.
And he got killed in a car crash, and they replaced him with a series of more standard drummers, and it never sounded the same. But anyway, that's just example of serendipity. And I'll tell you another one. This Japanese band that I discovered last weekend, and also I listened to this a couple weeks ago. I listened to this interview on this. There's a podcast about illustration, and I listened to an interview with Francis Jetter. And the theme music for this podcast, it's in the credits. It said theme music by Oat Mellow. And I'm like,
Who?
well, what is that? So I look it up on YouTube. He's a composer in a genre of music called lo-fi hip hop, which is basically sort of, some of it's like described as like video game music, but it's basically very light instrumentals with a little beat. Sometimes it's a sort of off syncopated beat, sort of, computer. But anyway, so I just discovered all that stuff, just dozens and dozens of artists in that genre. And some other shit I've discovered over the past year, just out of the blue.
You sent me a lovely song today by Bakar.
I sent you an
out of
art.
UK.
Did I send you the video and the making of, or the article about?
Yes,
about-
both combined.
What a great.
He is just so lovely. He's like British and Senegalese or something.
I needed to look at some
I
more of
think-
his songs besides just those two.
Yeah. It's just lovely. Lovely. Beautiful sound. And it's just, oh man.
And see, the thing is about the Alive video, I looked up an article about it to see if they really did stop traffic with not out telling anybody.
think that was
And
what
that's
they did?
really what they did. They just stopped traffic
Yeah.
and without telling anybody that they were going to film a video on
What
the
was name of
street.
The other song we went back and forth between?
Well, Helen Back was his
Helen
big
Back is the
hit,
big one.
and
Yeah.
Alive is the one where he's dancing in the street.
Helen Back has this really retro feel, and that caught my attention the first thing. And then when I discovered Alive, I was like, oh, this is so sweet.
What I love about
joyous.
his voice is, it's sort of on the edge of being hoarse or on the edge of a
Yeah.
whispery rasp. He never pushes it though. It's like he can't sing very loud. I don't see how you could possibly sing in concert with that sort of just like whisper in your ear almost kind of voice.
Yeah, it's more of something you would feel on stage as a singing voice, where you become
I tell you what it
lyrical in
sounds
your
like.
vocal.
It sounds like, say you're having a party at, like in an apartment or a small place, and there's maybe a dozen people, and there's a guy singing just out loud to the group without any intention of entertaining anybody. But I mean, he's singing to like maybe 2 or 3 people. It's about that loud, you
There's
know.
a strong Irish tradition of doing that.
Yeah.
You know, the Welsh are so big on having the big chorales and choruses, etc. But the Irish tradition is anybody can sing, you know? And you just don't stretch your voice. You don't go all airy-fairy. You don't try to put on airs. And the Irish tradition is just a natural voice that comes out. And it's so enjoyable to listen to. A band, an Irish band, when they're playing in a bar or something. I remember going down to Savannah years ago, several times, and always going into the Irish pubs. And sometimes it would be the people up on stage, sometimes the people in the audience or whatever, and people just singing along. And it's for the joy of being in the group being in public and singing and expressing yourself.
I've got several Clancy Brothers albums over there,
Yeah.
and some of them they're performing live for Irish American audiences
Yeah.
in New York area.
Awesome.
and they're singing. A lot of these songs are about, fuck the British, and we're going to fight against the British.
pro-IRA.
And you'll hear people in the eyes like, yeah,
Well, Dropkick Murphys, they're out of Boston. And they are currently doing a shit ton of fuck Trump in all of their things. And whenever somebody has on a MAGA shirt, whenever somebody calls them out from the audience, they take them down from the stage. One guy they took down, and they said, tell you what, you give us that MAGA shirt, we're going to give you one of our band shirts. He took it off right then and there and replaced it with one of their shirts. And I don't know what they had said to him, but it was one of those appeal to the common man.
I'll tell you another. This isn't years ago I stumbled. I think it's a box set of the Dubliners, which is like the other big Irish band or singing thing, and they do. I'm familiar with the song "Dirty Old Town" from Rod Stewart's version, but they do it, and it's just fantastic.
And I'm used to what was it, the Pogues or something? Who did that? Who did
maybe
version of that?
He had the worst teeth in existence.
Yeah. I don't know. There's Johnny Rotten.
Johnny Rotten's teeth weren't bad.
They weren't great. They had this deformity because of his childhood illness.
I don't know. I think he was missing some teeth.
Fix.
Oh yeah.
Because he had money after a while. Album, CD, record.
Great record.
That was great.
Yeah.
Billy Bragg out of Britain.
Yeah, I've got
somebody that Peter has gotten into. He loves the pro-labor, pro-people messages and anti-capitalist messages with Billy Bragg.
the only thing I've got by him. I've got like a CD single, Bloke on Bloke, with maybe 3 or 4 songs on it. That's it. That's something I've got by him. It was pretty good though.
Yeah. It's really funny. You and I were brought up in this Cold War pro-capitalist mindset. And now we've changed so much. And we see the problems with capitalism.
Well,
we don't try to excuse it, try to say that it's the greatest thing ever. We see the benefits of democratic socialism. We see what the positive things are in Finland and Sweden, in the Netherlands, even in Germany. And these are all societies that still have capitalism in it, but they also have elements of socialism in them that allow the people, the citizens of those countries, to benefit, to have health care, to have advanced education, and so much more.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
What? You're still pro-capitalist?
no. I'm saying you were saying we were brought up that way. Really, the only people who preached that
The school.
was the school, because the other kids went to churches that were politically active. My church was not. And
Well-
we never had activist preachers. And my parents weren't Republicans until Reagan's second term.
Yeah, but we still had the Cold War
No, not even-
mindset that capitalism versus communism. It was an either or sort of thing. There couldn't be any kind of gray line.
Yeah. I was just thinking about how that school poisoned me in such ways my parents didn't expect. They would tell us, John F. Kennedy was just nothing but a philanderer, serial adulterer, and his
Catholic.
His 2 brothers were the same thing, and his
they were
on
Catholics.
and on. Yeah. And so one day I was riding in the car with my mother.
Oh,
I
God.
must have been 9th grade, maybe somewhere in there, maybe 10th even. And I'm talking about the Kennedys, and she goes, "Where do you get this from?" And I said, "Well, the school." And she says, "The Kennedys weren't bad. They were a family of people who tried to make this country better, and they blah blah blah." And
Wow.
at the time you're like, my mother is pro-Democrat. Oh God, she's so misguided.
I was lucky that I was brought up between 2 worlds. I also ended up being one result, whereas my sister was the other result of those two worlds. My sister bought into that religiosity. She went to a religious kindergarten, and by the time she hit, I think, third or fourth grade, she had been put into that school. And then her son, she sent him to that school. And then they became very isolated in this small community that her husband was from. And they became part of this church that belongs to one of those, I don't know, Seven Mountains or something.
Right.
Yeah, one of those type of churches.
You're not talking about
the different philosophies. Yeah, it's the extreme religious. They're part of this idea that you have to have politics and society, family, culture, all these things under
but
the leadership
why?
of the theocracy. And she ended up dying because of their crazy beliefs, anti-vax, anti-science,
I just wonder. My
anti-reason.
sister hasn't broken away either. She's still
She's still
in the camp
crazy.
of that school.
And she's still a huge Trump supporter. She had those Let's Go Brandon
I can only
nonsense
assume
and the anti-Fauci books.
Yeah, I can only assume that the reason that I turned out different is because I dropped theism, and that's
You and I
that was the
saw
first step.
past
You
it.
know,
At some point, and I was in my late teens, I realized that I had to come to
Well-
a point where I said, I need to know what I believe. And I realized I had no belief in these things. I couldn't find any foundation,
well, I think
any truth, any facts that represented those things.
So I
walked away.
that-
I did it in stages, but I walked away.
well, okay, we have a very good friend who's gay, and I asked him flat out one time, well, how did you become an atheist? What led you to it? He goes, but he basically said, well, being gay and knowing there's nothing wrong with it is the first step to going, oh, wait a minute, they want to tell me that this is wrong based on their God. That's just one reason not to believe in their God.
Yeah.
And I think for us, there's something similar. We had been out in the world and seen things and thought, wait a minute, this is not evil like they said it was, or this is not the way they said it was. So maybe everything they said is horseshit, you know?
Yeah, once you begin to see that other cultures exist, other belief systems exist,
And they're valid.
and there are other value systems, you begin to see there's a lot of give and take. And it has to do with a number of things. First and foremost, tradition and geographic location, where you happen to be born.
Mm-hmm.
What group you happen to be born into. What society you happen to be born into. So much so that in Egypt, if you're born a Muslim, they don't recognize you if you become a Christian or a non-believer. They say, oh no, you can't leave it. You're always going to be
Yeah.
X, because that's what you were born to. And that means that people who want to convert to Islam can't do it and be recognized by certain systems. But the idea that there are a large number of people in a large number of societies who just step outside of the religious belief systems and say, I can be a good person without religion. I am good without God.
Several
That
years ago.
is something that's universal.
Several years ago, I can't remember where I read this. This is 20-something years ago. The Japanese are still very racist, especially towards Koreans. And
Sad history
so many
between the two.
Koreans got immigrated to Japan to do like,
Slave labor.
well, not
during-
slavery, but
it was
like grunt work,
grunt
you know.
work.
And then wound up staying, maybe sometimes a couple hundred years. That there are schools that are like, well, we only accept pureblood Japanese here, and they were doing this test. They were shining a flashlight on the tops of the kids' heads to look at the roots of their hair, because if the hair was more brown, that meant they're probably Korean. So we won't let them in, and that's just part connected with all that.
And right now we've got this rise of white nationalism. White nationalist Christianity, specifically. And there was this thing that was passed recently, given down by Pam Bondi and the Justice Department in December, that talks about if you are anti-capitalist, if you're anti-Christian, you are a terrorist. What the ever-loving fuck?
I found out something last night I did not know. Bro went to work last night. In the same way, in the EU, you have freedom of movement, where if you're a citizen of like Germany, you can go to any other EU country with no problem. It's like United States of Europe, which is something Churchill had envisioned. I did not know this, but Australia and New Zealand have the same policy. It's called the Trans-Tasman Freedom of Movement Zone or whatever. Trans-Tasman refers to the crossing of the Tasman Sea, which separates the two countries, and it refers to the cultural and economic intercourse between the two of them.
Yeah.
Very interesting. See, the thing is, if we'd had a North American union like Europe, we'd be unstoppable. But they're so afraid of letting Mexicans cross the border without, any hindrance to do work here. It's got a lot more to do with racism than it does with stealing American jobs or signing up for our social benefits programs. The real problem they have with that is the social benefits programs in the first place, not who's getting them.
Well, Canada and Mexico allow women to get abortions. Bet you didn't know that about Mexico.
You see, if men were allowed to get abortions, then they wouldn't have a problem with it. Why should you have a right that we don't have? Well, we have a womb and you don't. Well, that's beside the point.
Well, Canada now is a third, 30% immigrant citizens. People who are first and second generation immigrants, because they have a policy that says we welcome people.
A lot of people around the world are like, well, if we can't get into America, we'll go to Canada because it's, like second
They're
best.
civilized.
Yeah, right.
They also have health care there. They also have paid time off work. Maternity protections. Jesus Christ. Why aren't we in Canada?
And there's so many American politicians, they're looking at Canada and scratching their heads and they're like, you're not logging all that timber up north? What's wrong with you? If they had their way, they cut down every goddamn tree in every national park in this country because there's a buck to be made.
They started lifting the restrictions. They started lifting the restrictions for logging, for mining, and for drilling for oil. I'm telling you, they are raping and pillaging before the climate disaster becomes.
Well, the thing is, instead of enacting true reform, which is needed, they're like, well, we'll have a stopgap measure of making the gas cheap, or cut down the trees so we can have cheap this product or that product. As long as you keep the illusion of prosperity and abundance going for another 10 years, then that'll be good enough just to get us by. That's the whole idea.
One thing I read and I found very amusing was one of the reasons that housing prices are up, other than the big equity firms buying up all these private homes. The new homes that are being built, there is a record slowdown in building because 30 to 40% of the workforce is immigrant labor, and they're either gone, in hiding, or arrested. They're not showing up to do these jobs.
Well, on a totally separate topic, let me just say something really quick.
What, dear?
I think you look really beautiful right now. And it has a lot to do with your beautiful silverish gray hair pulled back like that, and the shirt you're wearing.
Also great.
It sets it off. So it's a gray that sets off your hair so beautifully.
Just call me Lady Gray. Oh.
And
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you.
you look really pretty.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. She usually at this point she usually says, "What do you want?"
Actually, that was going to be my next question. What do you want? At this point, he usually goes, carrot cake.
Well, this is a family show, so we're not going to say what carrot cake stands for. Oh my God. I don't want to start coughing. I can't laugh too hard.
You want it with cream cheese, dear?
Homemade cream cheese. Oh, it's just about gotten dark.
Yeah.
I feel the working man. He takes his luxuries where he can, and to have a 3-day weekend, I feel like I'm on a major vacation.
Oh.
We had not to get on this discussion. I'll just say this one thing and then drop it. The last 3 days, we've had an average each night of 40 to 45 pallets of Amazon mail, and it's not fun because we have to pick through all of it to find out what's too big to go on the package sorting machine. Now, that's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, let me say, when I go to the different websites to price things, everybody is doing clearance, clearance, clearance.
That's so one of the carriers was asking me what's going on with the Amazon mail.
It's clearance,
and because he was talking about Christmas, he was like, "Are people's credit cards maxed out? Why is it not more volume than it is?" Well, he's got it now, because it's after people are waiting for the sales, and then they're gonna drop the dime.
and a few people are spending those gift cards they may have gotten too.
That's true. That's true.
So apparently, people bought 4 to 5% more this year for Christmas.
Oh, really?
But more people put it on buy now, pay later, or credit cards.
Right. I remember when layaway was a big deal.
Yeah.
When I worked at Kmart, I worked in a department that was right next to layaway. And I might have helped out in layaway a couple of times. But there were these two young girls about my age who worked back there, and I would always hang out with them. Neither one of them was really that good looking, but I was 20. Wait a minute, I wasn't even that old. I must have been 19. My God, is that right?
Yeah, you were young. We were young.
So they
once,
must
dear.
have been about 18, 17. No, they could. I don't know.
Anyway.
But I just thought I'd eat either one of these up, right?
Like carrot cake.
Oh my God, that's I was dating this girl at the time, and she's the girl that went with me to Key West the 2 different times. And I was working at Kmart when I first went to Key West, and we went down there and I had stolen my mother's gas card, and we racked up $300 worth of hotel room charges and stuff and food on the gas card. But anyway. So we wound up overstaying like a day or two on the trip. So I had to figure out how to. I was supposed to be back at work, so I made this horrible lie about what happened on the trip that delayed me getting back to work for 2 days. Well, anyway, I said that we had a group of us, like 6 or 7 of us, had gone to the swamp in Florida camping, and one of the girls got bitten by a snake, but it wasn't a poisonous snake. It's okay. And this.
Oh my God! What a bunch of crap!
I know, the human resources woman at the store. She's like, "Oh, that's terrible." Anyway, I had to reiterate this story to the 2 girls in layaway, and they did not believe one fucking word of it. And one of them flat told me, she goes, "Did that really happen?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it really happened." She goes, "Uh-huh."
Right. Their bullshit meters were working.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah, well, there are always physical signs when somebody's lying. So I think over the phone you may have been able to get away with, but I bet you that
No,
HR
I told her
person
in person.
would.
When I was working in that convenience store across from where that Christian school is, I went for a drive on my break or something, and I almost ran out of gas. And I went up to this convenience store, a couple miles from my convenience store, and I said, "Look, can you spot me like $1 to get back to my store? I'm an assistant manager at this place over here." And I said, "You look familiar." And she's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. So she gave me the $1 for the gas. I go back over to my store and to get the money to repay her. And I drive back over there and I said, "I remember where I know you from. You were the personnel manager at Kmart." And she goes, "That's right." I said, "You fired me."
Why'd she fire you?
Because once again, I'd skipped work. I was out on a date. I got drunk in
You
the
were
hotel.
drunk.
Went up in the hotel
You
room.
were drunk.
And we all woke up drunk in the hotel room, and I popped up and I said, "I'm supposed to be at work right now." And they were like, "What?" I said, "It's okay though. They need me."
Boom! You're fired, bitch.
Oh my God.
That's hilarious.
And my kids, they know nothing of this type of debauchery that I've been through.
Well, now
And
they know some of your stories, which is why they're
that's
good
not the same
kids.
thing as knowing it personally.
Oh, okay, all right.
But I've been through
Because
some
we
shit,
did-
and my kids are so tame and timid, and you know.
We're not complaining, kids. Okay, we're not complaining. We think you're great kids. When I went to pick up Reed this week when we went to Sam's Club, her landlord was there fixing a light switch, and he goes, "We really like Reed." I said, for what I was saying, I said, "We really appreciate this place. It's been good for her." He goes, "We really like Reed. She's a good girl." I said, "She is a good girl, isn't she?"
That's so funny.
And she's a 30-year-old woman, and we're calling her a
Just
good girl.
about. She's almost
Yeah,
30.
I know.
I tell somebody at work that my kids are about to be 30 and 28, and they're like, "What? I can't believe you got kids that old."
Really? I think
Yeah.
they do believe it. Because, I mean, look at all this gray hair, dude. Look at that gray beard.
Yeah.
It's covered with a gray beard. All gray. And other aspects.
Eminent.
Idiot.
Oh God, I am so sleepy. I can't sleep.
What the hell's wrong with you? How is it that you've been up this long? Caffeine?
Yeah, I had some
Tea and coffee?
tea and coffee mixed together.
Yeah, you gotta stop doing that. Separate, dear, separate.
What difference
Why
does
make
it
it
make?
miserable? Why make it miserable? It's something nasty to...
It does taste terrible, but it's a
Then do it
convenient way to get
separately.
caffeine into your system.
Do it separately. Yes. Yes. You're weird. Must mainline caffeine.
I want to try. Oh God.
What?
Oh God. Theobromine. It's chemically
You've tried it before in
in chocolate, but
in
I'd like.
Cocoa Nibs.
Yeah, I know, but I'd like to just have it like as a powder. Apparently, you can buy it. You can just mix it with something. But it's chemically very similar to caffeine. But apparently, some people say it affects your linguistic centers more, so that you could. No, not speaking, but ability to formulate sentences and so forth.
What words?
The sleepy Jacaranda tree.
Madeline Bassett.
I was thinking about that last night at work.
I don't think I could watch Wooster and Jeeves and Wooster again.
It is
Because
a,
we have watched it to death when the kids were little.
yeah, but also if you've seen one episode, that's pretty much it. It's you know,
It's either the milk cow,
but it's always
or
you know
the creamer, or
he's-
the policeman's hat.
he's such a one-dimensional
Or
character, and
he's
Jeeves
engaged
is
to the wrong
basically a
person.
robot. So you know,
Always bailing him out, so.
no personal feelings of his own, except for conservatism in matters of a gentleman's attire.
Mannerism.
But other than that, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see
I'm
how.
getting tired.
Yeah, let me see what time it does. It should be about an hour right now. Hold on.
I would hope so. It seems like it's like an hour 20.
It is 20 seconds from being an hour.
Blah, 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 blah. 20 seconds. Okay.
All right. We'll see you later. Bye bye.
Bye.